New day, same sweater. Hi everyone, it's Maddie. Welcome back to my channel, or thanks for joining us if this is your first time here. Yes, I'm filming this on a different day and I realized I'm wearing the same clothes I was wearing in the last video. I think this is the second time that it has happened. I do own different outfits, I just don't wear them, apparently. Anyways, I went out book shopping with some friends this weekend and bought more books that I don't need. That's a lie, I always need books. So I thought I would do a little bit of a book haul video, plus I also got some kind of cool book merch that finally showed up this week, so I thought it would be kind of cool to do a little, I guess, unboxing. I don't know how to explain this. We'll see. We're gonna go through it. So the bookstore that I went to is a little shop that we have downtown from here, and it has used and new books. So I was actually able to get a decent amount of books without spending too much money. I always like going to used bookstores. I think one of my favorite things that I find hilarious, well, maybe not hilarious, but there's always like certain books that there just seems to be a ton of. Every time that we have there's normally this like massive book sale in my hometown that didn't happen because of COVID this year, but there's always like 40 copies of Twilight because everyone's just trying to get rid of it. And a lot of time in used bookstores I find there's books like that where there's like 6 copies of the same book, and I'm always really suspicious of them because I'm like, okay, either everyone bought this and they hated it and wanted to get rid of it and they gave it to the used bookstore, or they like bought it but didn't like it enough, especially like when they're hardcovers and you like know they're brand new. I'm always like, was this book bad? Why do so many people not want to keep this? But anyways, to get into the books that I got, the very first book that I got is a version of Dracula by Bram Stoker. I haven't read this book. This summer I had planned to read Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, Frankenstein, and Dracula, but I didn't get around to Dracula. That was the one that I hadn't gotten to before I had to give it back to the library. I don't know if I need to give you a plot summary about Dracula, but this is actually a very nice version of it. The font size is decent because that's a thing I've been having problems with classics. Especially don't order them from Amazon because they give you shit copies with like 0.6 font for some reason that is impossible to read, and even worse when you're trying to make notes on it for class or go back and find things. So this will be on my list of books to read. Probably should have read it around Halloween. I don't know. I'm reading Pet Sematary right now, so I'm just messing everything up with the time of years. The other classic that I got it's a collection of Jack London's. It has The Call of the Wild and White Fang in it. I haven't read either of them. The only thing I know about White Fang is that scene in New Girl when Schmidt really wants to like White Fang someone.
Now go on. You heard me? Go on! Go on, scram! Go! I hate you, go!
That's all that I know about it. The Call of the Wild features a gentle domestic dog driven by the cruelty of man to abandon civilization and return to wilderness. By contrast, White Fang is the story of a magnificent wolf dog born wild and free who struggles to survive and is transformed from a ferocious beast to a blessed wolf, capable of great uncompromising love. So I'm very curious to read this because I have never read it. I think there was also just a new Call of the Wild movie with Harrison Ford, and they like CGI'd the dog because we don't use real animals anymore for some reason. I don't know. I just remember the dog looking kind of weird. Not like bad weird, but just kind of CGI where you know something's off. Not as bad as cats. Nothing will ever be as bad as cats. So those are the 2 classics I got, and then I picked up a couple other books as well. So this one is called Boo, and it is by Neil Smith, and I got it in I think I found it in the Canadian authors section, so some good Canadian rep. The description of it is, even in heaven, life can be hell. When Oliver Boo Dalrymple wakes up in heaven, the 8th grade science geek thinks he died of a heart defect at school. But soon after arriving in this hereafter reserved for dead 13-year-olds, Boo discovers he's a Gomer, a kid who was murdered. What's more, his killer may also be in heaven. With help from the volatile Johnny, a classmate killed at the same school, Boo sets out to track down the mysterious gunboy who cut short both their lives. It says, in a heart-rendering story written to his beloved parents, the odd but endearing Boo relates his astonishing heavenly adventures. What's going to be written to his parents? From the dead kid? Oh, I definitely missed that part. That's going to be heart-wrenching. Yeah, I hadn't heard of it before. I thought it sounds really interesting, and kind of the way the afterlife is organized seems different. I always really like reading about different theories or understandings of like death and what happens after life. I know that sounds really dark, but I just find it super fascinating to me. So I think that'll be a really interesting read. I haven't heard of the author before. I should do a little bit more research on them to find out. This next one is a new book that I got, and I think it's considered like YA, but not like teen, probably more like 9 to 12. I could be wrong. I'm just judging that based on the other books that I know by this author. So this is the first book in a trilogy, and it's called The Dark Missions of Edgar Brim, and it is by Shane Peacock. So I have read books by this author before because he has a series that's like the young Sherlock Holmes. So I had read a lot of those books when I was a kid, kind of growing up. And I was also part of this Battle of the Books team that was kind of like, not book trivia, but they would basically, you were on a team and they'd give you a synopsis of the book and you'd have to know the title and author in order to get points. And Shane Peacock was one of the ones that always came up, and it was usually that series about the boy Sherlock Holmes. So I'm thinking that this is his newer series, and the plot of this one is Edgar Brim has suffered from nightly terrors since he was in his cradle, exposed to the tales of horror by his novelist father. So I'm not quite sure who his father is. Should I know the last name Brim? I really don't know. I'm gonna keep going. After the sudden death of his only parent, Brim is sent by his stern new guardian to a grim school in Scotland. There, his nightmares intensify and he's ridiculed for his fears. But years later, when 16-year-old Edgar finds his father's journal, he becomes determined to confront his demons and bullies. And soon after the horrific death of a schoolmate triggers Brim's involvement with an eccentric society that believes monsters from famous works of literature are real. And then it's, of course, with like a group of friends that they go off to try and figure out what happened. Now I'm curious who his father is. I thought it was supposed to be Edgar Allan Poe, but I could be wrong. Alan Brim is his dad, and his name is Edgar Brim. So I'm really gonna say that I think it's Edgar Allan Poe, but I could be wrong. I don't know if there's rules about writing about people like that. But I really liked his series, and I'm sure that this one will be just as interesting as well. I do sometimes with like the 9 to 12 area. This one, because it's a 16-year-old, I'm guessing it's written for a bit of an older audience. So sometimes I find with those 9 to 12 books, they can be like written down a little bit to kids, which I find frustrating, but I've never really had an issue with that with Shane Peacock's work. But that being said, I haven't read any of his in quite a few years, so it'll be really interesting to get to check out this new book. The very last one I got is called by Daniel Kalla, and I just want to take a moment to appreciate that this author's author photo has him in his scrubs, because he really needs to flex that he is both a doctor and an author. But yes, this book is called The Last High, and the plot of it is Dr. Julie Reese, a toxicologist and ER doctor, is stunned when her emergency room is flooded with teenagers from the same party, all suffering from critical overdoses. Julie knows the world of opioids inside and out. She recognizes that there's nothing typical about these cases. She believes that the teens took or were given fentanyl. But why did they succumb so quickly? Where did they get the drug, and did they take it knowingly? Dr. Anson Chen is determined to find out. He and Julie race to track down the supplier of the deadly drug. There are suspects everywhere, from unscrupulous street dealers to ruthless gang leaders who hide behind legitimate businesses in the walls of their mansions. So then, of course, the two of them are working to figure out what has been going on and solve these cases while there's other overdoses filling the ER. So I'm guessing it is inspired by the opioid crisis that is actually going on right now. So I'm hoping this is my only thing when they draw inspiration from real life, especially crises like this where there's so much raw emotion involved and so much loss from a lot of people, that they deal with it in a way that is respectful and considerate. That is my only concern with this book, but it says that it's a thriller, and I think that makes sense because they're kind of trying to track down where the drug came from and who brought it into the communities. So I think that will be interesting. Also, just looking at the two different points of view of coming from the perspective of a doctor and the perspective of a detective, so they both obviously have different approaches to a very similar goal in order to try and prevent these deaths within their communities. So I think that will also be a really good read. So I'm very excited. I'm hoping to have some free time once I finish up my essays and my courses, and I'm going to be using some of that time to catch up on all the books that I have to read. Other than that, the other thing that I did get recently was I ordered something for a friend for Christmas, and then I got myself a like different version of the same thing type thing because I had been looking at them for a really long time. So there's this company called Longhand pencils, and I believe Casey is the name of the person who runs it. This is the little business card that I got, and they make pencil sets that are engraved with quotes of TV shows, books, or movies, or some of them are just kind of other literary elements. So if any of you watch this channel regularly, you will know that I am obsessed with Heartstopper. So I got a 12 pencil set of Heartstopper quotes. First off, I just want to appreciate how perfectly it fits in this packaging. I don't know why, it's really satisfying to me. I also just really like the pastel colors of these pencils. So some of them have just one line on them and some of them have multiple. So this one, there we go. So that's one that just has the quote on the one side of the pencil. So this set, they were engraved just with white, but some of them, the set that I got for my friend, they're engraved with like gold flakes. So this one just says, you're not wearing many clothes. And to not spoil it for you, I'm gonna give you no context and you can guess what that's from. But it's honestly probably not what you would think. This one has a like conversation on it that so it like rotates through at the sides. It says I'm dying, and it says it's because you're old, and it says I'm only 18 months older. And it says okay, old man. So I just think that these pencils are so cool. When I sat down to look, there were so many that I wanted to get. They did have a set of Cemetery Boys, and I really loved the colors of the pencils for Cemetery Boys, but unfortunately it was sold out when I went to go and order it. I know that in the past they've done Brooklyn Nine-Nine. There's a Princess Bride set that I would really love to get because that's my favorite movie. The set that I got for my friend, I think I can show it because I don't think she watches this channel, is a set of fan fiction tropes. So these ones are in like white, pink, and a magenta, and they have the gold embossing on it. And it's things like friends to lovers, sharing one bed, fake dating, forbidden love, all of them like that. So I think that's really fascinating. Just in terms of talking a little bit more about the shop, I just happened to stumble across it somewhere. I think it was on Tumblr that I saw the picture of the Heartstopper pencils, and I was like, that's really cool, I want them. My only concern is how I'm going to use them. I haven't tried, I should sharpen one and check it out, see how the lead is, because there's nothing worse than a pencil with crappy lead. But I feel like I'm going to use them up until the quote, and then I'm probably going to stop because I don't want to like kill the quote. I'm a little disappointed that I don't have like in-person exams this year because that's the time that I use pencils the most. Otherwise I write a lot in pen. And then I'm trying to think of some sort of creative way that once I've used all the pencils that I can store them, whether there's a way that I can like build it into a Heartstopper oriented art piece or something like that in order to be able to display them, because I would hate to like have these amazing pencils and then just finish using them and then have them just sit in a dark closet somewhere. But Casey, who runs the shop, is amazing. I'm living at university right now, and because of that my address can be a little bit hokey in the way that I have to put it in. So sometimes I have to like fiddle with the settings because some websites will take it one way and other websites don't like me putting the name of the building in somewhere. I have to put it in as like delivery instructions or as like a secondary, in the secondary address line. So they reached out to connect with me just to ask to confirm my address because they were a little bit worried that it wasn't going to get here. So I was able to get back to them and say, oh, try laying it out this way, and they were like, perfect, that works. And they also were just like, oh my gosh, it's so great to finally, you know, to get to talk to someone else who also really likes Heartstopper. The packaging came with this little business card, like I already said. It also came with this cute little set of pencil erasers and also a personalized thank you card. And this, I think, is one of my favorite things about supporting small businesses is you can really tell that your support means a lot to them. It's a lot more of like a personalized experience too, just in terms of like the communication and things like that. But the number of businesses that I've ordered from where I'm able to get like a little personalized note, even bigger companies like Pila, I think it is, the phone case company, I have a phone case from them, and there was like a little handwritten note in there thanking me for like supporting their company and their mission, which I think just means a lot to me, because it's good to know that your support is being like recognized and seen, but also it's just nice to know that your money is actually going to support someone in a different way than like going to add to Jeff Bezos' dragon hoard of billions of dollars. So there was like a little personalized note just thanking me, saying that like, I've picked some of their favorite sets, and just like asking me to leave a review on their website, which of course I will take the time to do. But I just thought that I would mention that, since I know this is a book lover channel, and also because Christmas is coming up, so maybe if you have some people in your life that are maybe not even book fans, but movies or television shows, you should definitely check out their website, because they have some really cool sets. So I will be sure to leave a link in the description below for Longhand pencils, so you guys can check them out as well. Other than that, that's all that I have for you guys today. If you like these kind of haul videos, let me know, and maybe I'll try and do a little bit more of them. Obviously, they are dependent on me having bought books. If there's anything else that you'd like to see on my channel, please feel free to leave a comment below, and like and subscribe, of course, to see more of my videos. I try to post about once a week. Other than that, I will link my Goodreads down below if you want to follow along with what I'm reading right now, which is currently Pet Sematary, which is odd choice for this time of year, but it's me. What did you expect? Other than that, our Instagram is linked down below, as well as my blog, which I'm trying to update once a week as well. And until then, I will see you guys next time, and hopefully I will be wearing a different sweater.